Hello. In this video, I want to talk about avoiding eye strain when drawing. So, some of these tips may be a bit annoying because a lot of them have to do with before you start drawing. So, if you are struggling to look at something, if you need reading glasses, that could definitely be a good thing, but even when you have those, the act of focusing with your eyes on anything for long periods of time eventually causes your eyes to get a bit tired, and eventually, they get very strained. And I've realized personally that, in my day-to-day, before well, I guess it depends. Sometimes I draw early morning when I first wake up and I don't suffer from eye strain so much, but say the end of a long work day, I spend pretty much all day looking at a computer, and when I'm done with that, I then, well, I guess I do have a little bit of a break, but I may be on my phone, for instance, and that's also using my eyes. But basically, if I go right into drawing after that, I will struggle to draw. And, the thing about that is eye strain will take you out of the flow state. I think it's a bit comparable to like having something in your eye. Um, it's basically like a level of focus. Your head kind of hurts because you've been looking with your eyes at something for an incredibly long period of time. So the important thing is you do give your eyes a rest, much like you should be giving your shoulder, arm, wrist, whatever part you're drawing with, a rest as well. I mentioned things before like the Pomodoro technique. But even with that, the Pomodoro technique usually focuses on 25 minutes of study, then a 5-minute break. And I think the important thing is talking about that 5-minute break. Like, imagine if you could just either sit in a chair or lie down on the ground with your eyes closed. And I always wondered, would my eyes recover? Because usually when I use those 5 minutes, I end up going on my phone. I mean, I don't always use the Pomodoro technique, but sometimes when I do for incredibly hard stuff, for those 5 minutes, I'll use my phone. But the problem with that is that that can still cause eye strain. We look at a lot of text, and even though it may be a larger font, and even though I do use tools like Zoom and whatnot for reading, I sometimes do get a good amount of eye strain regardless, so to give your eyes a break is incredibly important to do. So the other thing is, depending on what you're drawing, it could be extremely beneficial to have a standing magnifying glass. You may not always need this. I don't mean to get every tool in existence, but sometimes if you're observing reference and you're trying to draw a fine detail, having something like this is a great way to avoid eye strain, because it's much like being on digital. It's comparable to digital zoom. Comparable to digital zoom functionality. It could be incredibly helpful for that. The other thing that I try to do every day, and it also kind of helps me focus more, I tend to do a 10-minute mindfulness exercise, and it usually involves keeping my eyes closed. And I end up focusing on my breath or breathing. And I do find that incredibly important in my day-to-day. I think it also helps reset my brain to a certain extent. Sometimes I feel with the way we consume information these days, sometimes it becomes too much and your brain refuses to learn anymore. So by doing this, it kind of like, well, you're just focusing on your breath, and it's very therapeutic. And I feel like it gives your brain a rest, so you could then study like hell later. So, other than that, I would also say using clear lighting. Sorry, my throat's a bit congested. Using clear lighting. So things like clamp on book lights. I do find that important. Or some type of like lamp that lets you see clearly, but you also do not want it like blinding you with how bright it is. I feel like most of the light we have in our day-to-day life is pretty insufficient for drawing. For a long time, I used to draw just in my room on a drawing board, just using my ceiling fan for the light source, and I have to say it was just bad quality light, and I would get a bunch of eye strain because I was effectively trying to draw in the dark. So don't draw in the dark. I mean, you could also go outside. That could be another benefit. I mean, depending on what you're trying to draw or do, natural light could be a good light source. But the other thing to be aware of that is drawing when sundown. And I've seen myself doing this a few times, being outside, thinking that it should just always behave normally, but then I'm like, oh, I can't. Eventually it's kind of like I'm getting a lot of eye strain because I'm really straining my eyes trying to draw and look at stuff. So a lot of people will mention, and you may read this in books, like for sunlight, a north facing light. A north facing light is preferable. But if that's not possible, or perhaps you live in an area where I do, and for a good portion of the year it's very cold and desolate, by the time I'm even done with the workday, it may be dark outside. So it's like, oh no, what do I do then? Well, that's where we have, I think it's, is it, oops, sorry. I think it's like 7, is it K? I don't know. I think it's like something like that, but they have bulbs that mimic sunlight. So those could also be a good light source if you want to focus on using that for your reference of some sort. But yeah, it's good to know they have those types of bulbs, and I have found them being beneficial, especially during the winter months of the year. The other thing is they make some of them that are on like tripod stands, so you can adjust them to various heights and work with it in a good way. But yeah, I think other than that, the other thing, maybe get your eyes checked and see if you need reading glasses. Personally, I do not, but those could also be helpful to you. Or get a real magnifying glass. But yeah, those are the main things that I wanted to talk about. If you have something else that helps you combat eye strain, please let me know in the comments. I think the other important thing to note is that we're human, and drawing is a meaningful activity. It can be a meaningful activity, but you do have to realize that we're human, and we're not made to draw 24/7. Just like, I would say even for more than like an hour at a time, you need to take a break. But I mean, compared to the job, compared to like my personal life, it always seems kind of weird that we have to sit in front of a computer screen for that long. I use blue light blocking glasses when I make videos and whenever I'm looking at a digital screen. That also helps, so I should have written that down. Where did I write? I'm gonna write here, reading. Or blue light blocking. And I actually use blue light blocking glasses before I go to bed. I think blue light will really trick you and will trick your body to thinking that it's the day, and you may have trouble sleeping. Not that I'm trying to sleep, but I mean just when I'm looking at any digital surface, I do like to protect my eyes in one way or another. Just like when I go outside, I try to wear sunglasses So that is incredibly helpful. But yeah, I hope these tips help you. If you like the video, please like it. If you like my channel, please subscribe. And if you have a question, please ask in the comments and I will try to answer to the best of my ability. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.